You are standing in the pitch-black chill of a Bavarian barn, the heavy scent of hay and livestock doing little to mask the sudden, sharp metallic tang of blood in the air. The date is March 31, 1922. Your breathing is shallow. Ahead of you, 4 bodies are stacked carefully in the straw, hidden away like old farm equipment. But you aren't alone. You slip through the stable doors and step into the quiet warmth of the Gruber family home. In the bedroom, a newborn whimpers in his bassinet. In another corner, a newly hired maid lies motionless. You don't flee. You don't panic. Instead, you light the hearth. You open the pantry, slice a piece of cured meat, and eat. Over the next 3 days, you will tend to the cattle, stoke the fires, and live among the dead. This is not a ghost story. This is the reality of the Hinterkaifeck murders, one of the most brutal, terrifying, and baffling unsolved crimes in German history. To understand the horror that unfolded, we have to look at the setting. Hinterkaifeck was a remote, self-contained farmstead located about 70 kilometers north of Munich, bordered by a dense forest. It was inhabited by 6 people. Andreas Gruber, 63. The patriarch, known to neighbors as an unpleasant, reclusive, and deeply disliked man. Casilia Gruber, 72, his wife. Victoria Gabriel, 35, their widowed daughter. Casilia Gabriel, 7, Victoria's young daughter. Joseph Gruber, 2, Victoria's toddler son. Maria Baumgartner, 44, the newly hired maid. The family was wealthy but socially isolated. They were plagued by dark rumors, most notably that Andreas and his daughter Victoria had been convicted of an incestuous relationship years prior, and whispered speculation that young Joseph was the product of that continued abuse. The massacre did not happen without warning. In the months leading up to March 1922, a series of deeply unsettling events occurred that should have sent the family fleeing. The terrified maid. The family's previous maid abruptly quit 6 months prior, claiming the house was haunted because she constantly heard footsteps and scratching coming from the attic. The foreign newspaper. In March, Andreas found an unfamiliar Munich newspaper on the property. No one in the family or the surrounding area subscribed to it. Footprints in the snow. Days before the killings, a fresh snowfall revealed a trail of footprints leading directly from the forest to the farm's machine room. The lock on the door was broken. Crucially, there were no returning footprints. Whoever walked out of the woods stayed on the farm. The missing keys. A set of house keys inexplicably vanished just before the attack. Despite telling neighbors about these events, Andreas, stubborn and fiercely independent, refused to contact the police or accept offers of help. On the afternoon of Friday, March 31st, Maria Baumgartner arrived at the farm to begin her first day of work. She would be dead before midnight. Sometime late that evening, the killer enacted a calculated trap. It is believed that the family members were lured out to the barn one by one, perhaps by noises from restless livestock or a deliberate manipulation by the intruder. As each walked into the dark barn, they were struck down with a heavy farm tool. A family-owned nomadic, a pickaxe-like tool. Andreas, his wife Casilia, Victoria, and 7-year-old Casilia were all dispatched with precise, crushing blows to the skull. Forensic evidence later revealed a heartbreaking detail. Young Casilia survived the initial attack, lying in the straw for hours, tearing her own hair out in tufts before succumbing to her wounds. The killer then entered the main house. They found Maria Baumgartner in her bedchamber and killed her instantly. Finally, the intruder walked to the master bedroom, where 2-year-old Joseph was sleeping in his bassinet, and struck the child down. What happened next elevates this case from a standard home invasion to a psychological anomaly. The killer did not rob the home. Thousands of marks in cash were left untouched. Instead, the killer stayed. For over 3 days, neighbors saw smoke rising from the chimney. The farm's cattle were fed and milked. Meat was cut from the pantry, and bread was consumed. The killer lived a domestic fantasy inside a tomb, stepping over the bodies of 6 people they had just slaughtered. It wasn't until April 4th, when local mechanic Albert Hoffner came to repair an engine and found the farm locked up and eerie, that a search party entered. They discovered a nightmare. From an investigative and psychological standpoint, the perpetrator of the Hinterkaifeck murders breaks many traditional criminal profiles. Here is a breakdown of the killer's psyche based on behavioral analysis. The killer did not snap in a fit of rage. The footprints in the snow, the stolen keys, and the manipulation of the attic spaces indicate stalking behavior. The killer essentially engaged in frogging, living undetected in the family's home before striking. This demonstrates a massive amount of patience, impulse control, and calculated malice. A matic is a weapon of extreme violence. It requires close quarters combat and immense physical strength. Bludgeoning faces and skulls indicates deep-seated, personal rage. Yet, the stacking of the bodies in the barn and covering them with straw suggests depersonalization or post-mortem manipulation to reduce guilt or delay discovery. By hiding the bodies, the killer psychologically erased the crime so they could comfortably occupy the space. The most telling behavior is the 3-day stay after the murders. This indicates a profound lack of empathy, bordering on severe psychopathy or a dissociative state. Asterisk ownership fantasy. The killer likely felt a sense of entitlement or ownership over the farm. By killing the Grubers, they didn't just eliminate a family, they acquired a home. Taking over daily chores like feeding the cattle indicates a person who felt perfectly safe, familiar, and comfortable on that specific land. The lack of theft strongly points to a personal grievance or a mission-oriented killer. Neighbors like Lorenz Schlittenbauer, Victoria's former lover who had disputed paternity claims over young Joseph, were heavily investigated due to potential motives of revenge or shame. Alternatively, if the killer was a drifter or an escaped soldier, like the rumored return of Victoria's husband, Carl Gabriel, who was presumed dead in World War I, the family's notorious reputation for incest may have served as a moral justification for a righteous execution. Ultimately, whoever wore those boots out of the woods possessed a rare and terrifying combination of traits: the patience of a stalker, the brutality of a butcher, and the chilling coldness to call a crime scene home.